For this project, I got one of the Dollar Tree skulls that have a raven on the top. And as we all know, the Dollar Tree has raised the prices. I used to get this one for $3 from the $3 section, but this year, this one went up to $5. And you can see they covered all the old prices with that red sticker, but if you remove them, you're gonna see the $3 price. But the reason I got this one is that when I looked it up to get the same thing that I wanted, which is a skull and a raven on the top, it was much more expensive. So I took off all the stickers from the skull, and then I gave it a thin coat of primer, only the skull, not the raven. We're gonna keep that glittery, beautiful black. I tried to go gently around the legs so that I don't cover it with any primer. And I also didn't cover the eyes. Once I was done, I gave the skull 2 coats of this beautiful paint. It's an off-white shade that I got from Dixie Belle, and I covered the whole skull and I gave it 2 coats. Once our skull was dry, I got the black chalk paint and I colored in the eyes to make them pop and to outline them with black paint. I did the eyes and I also did the teeth. I went covering the teeth with the black chalk paint, and with my other flat brush, I'm gonna just go around the line of the teeth, just like that. I don't want to cover anything else. I want this one to pop. So I went in gently right on the edge of the teeth, covering the whole teeth in black. Once I was done, I got my damp paper towel and I went over the teeth to wipe off any excess paint. I keep doing that gently so that I don't smear the paint all around the skull, as I want to give the teeth Halloween vibes. And I kept doing that with a paper towel until it looked like this. Then I got black vinyl and I cut 2 triangles for the top and the bottom of the eyes. And I'm gonna place them on the top and the bottom of the eyes. This is permanent black vinyl, and with the scissors, I just cut this little triangle. And I also did the same thing on the other eye. Now I'm gonna put our skull aside, and for the nose, I'm gonna use one of this candy pick that I used on our other skull on the last video, and I'm gonna take one of these pom-poms and I'm gonna color it in my favorite red color from Dixie Belle, and we'll leave this aside to dry. While this dries, we're gonna work on our bottle. So, since Dollar Tree raised the prices, I decided to recycle a glass bottle instead of buying one from them. I took off the stickers and I cleaned it off with alcohol, and it was ready to use. I gave the bottle 1 coat of primer and 2 coats of paint. I used the same cream color that we used on the skull, and once it was dry, I got my favorite diamond stencil and I wrapped it around the bottle, and we're gonna stencil that in black chalk paint. Just like that, it was so easy to hold around the bottle, and with my brush, I started stenciling the pattern. And remember, my friends, a little is much when stenciling. We don't want the paint to bleed under the stencil. So I kept stenciling all the pattern, and this is how it looked. And then I aligned it again to finish the rest of the bottle. And I'm loving this already. So once the paint was dry, I got the self-adhesive gold stones and I cut it to put in little stones in between the pattern. Just like that. It was so easy to do, and I'm gonna do the same thing all around the bottle. And this is how the bottle looks. When I stenciled the bottle, you're gonna see that the pattern overlapped in this part, but don't worry about it. You're gonna see what we're gonna do with it. But I didn't add any gold stones on it. Now we got the bottle and our skull, and with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna stick the skull to the bottle. Now I got 2 pieces of red velvet fabric that I had left over from another project, and please try to make the cut not straight. Even if the strips that you have from the fabric, whichever you're gonna use, is straight, try to play with the scissors to get this crooked look, since it's a Halloween bottle. Then I sewed the top of that fabric, and once I was done, I pulled the thread over, and it's gonna just look like that. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other piece, only from the top, sewing it in and pulling the thread out. Once I was done, I made a little knot on the end and cut the thread with the scissors. I also made another one with the black velvet, And we're gonna use bows to decorate around the neck where the bottle meets the skull. I'm gonna stick that from the back with the hot glue gun, and this is how it looks. I also decided to add gold stones on the bottom of the triangles that we did with the black vinyl. I had these little Christmas bells from last year. They come in a pack that has too many of them, and I'm gonna stick this around the red velvet using the hot glue gun. And for the overlapping pattern, I'm gonna get black and red feathers, and with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna stick them on that part until it looks like that. And don't forget the nose, and this is gonna be our last step. With the hot glue gun, we're gonna stick his nose. And our beautiful clown terrifier inspired bottle is ready. I'm so in love with how this bottle turned out. I decided to add a little gold pumpkin on the top, and also with the self-adhesive rhinestone sheet, I added a little crown on the raven on the top. It turned out absolutely stunning. And just for $5, you get this high-end, beautiful Halloween centerpiece. For this DIY project, we're gonna start with a skull. I got the 6 inches skull from Target. It was for $5. And with the black chalk paint, I'm gonna color in the eyes and the nose to make them pop. Usually these skulls' eyes and nose are a little brownish, so I always like to paint them in black. And also, of course, we're not gonna forget the teeth. We're gonna paint the teeth in black, going only on the teeth line. We don't want to color anything else on the skull. And with the damp paper towel, I'm gonna wipe off any excess paint until it looked like this. Next, we're gonna get a piece of black vinyl. And with the scissors, I'm gonna cut them, but not all the way through. I'm gonna cut about 3/4 of that vinyl, just like this. And once it was done, I wrapped it around my finger to give it a little curve. And using the hot glue gun, I'm gonna stick that one to the eyes, and we're gonna use them as eyelashes. This is the cheapest way to make eyelashes for your skull, but you can always get one from the dollar store or Walmart and stick that to the eyes. I did the same exact thing on the other eye, and this is how it looked like. I decided to add more to the end to make the eyelashes full. Then I got this beautiful mixed gold rhinestone and my E6000 glue, and I'm gonna go around the nose and under the eyes on the cheekbones of the skull. I'm not gonna put a thick layer. I'm gonna try to spread it around to make it enough to stick the stones, and at the same time not make it visible. Just a thin layer to be able to place the rhinestones. I didn't have any pattern in mind. I just kept placing them around until I liked how it looked. And by the nose, I put in the sparkly ones, and I just kept adding them randomly until I was all done adding the rhinestone. And then I got this beautiful orange glitter, and I'm gonna spread that on the rest of the glue all around the rhinestones, just to fill in the gaps between the rhinestones. I kept adding the glitter until I covered all the glue, and then I tapped it down to remove any excess glitter. A little bit here more and there, and this is how it looks. I'm in love with how it looks right now. Then I got this little wreath that I got from Joanne last year on clearance. It was for $3. But of course, you can find that in Hobby Lobby, Walmart, or any other store for around $3, maybe less sometimes. It might not have all this greenery around, but it doesn't matter because we're gonna take them off anyway. So I started by taking off all this greenery from the wreath. Then I got 3 pieces of foam. As I mentioned before, I always keep the foam that comes with any packages that I order to use them on the wreaths, DIYs, and other decor pieces. So I got 3 pieces, and with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna stick that on the top of the wreath, just to get a bigger base to attach all our pieces to that wreath. And the first thing we're gonna attach is our skull. So with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna attach the skull on the top of the foam, just like this. And to make sure it's totally secure and in place and it's not going anywhere, I got the twine and I wrapped it from inside the jaws of the skull around the wreath, and I made 2 knots on each side, just to make sure it's not going anywhere. Then I cut all the excess twine, and now it's ready to put our greenery. And from the back, I also added another piece of foam to have more base to attach all our florals and our sprays. I'll be using these beautiful fall florals and sprays and leaves. It's a mix that I got from the craft outlet and from the dollar store last year. So we're gonna kind of make a mix of all these brownish fall florals. I like to cut them into small pieces so it's easier to make them look fuller and also to rearrange them around the wreath. So I always cut them into little stems before I stick them to the wreath. So we're gonna use the lighter ones, these lighter leaves, as a base, and with the hot glue gun I started arranging the stems around the skull and on the wreath. I put hot glue in the end and I stick them on the wreath and fluff them up. I kept placing them around the wreath with that same color as the base. I added more until they look full and nice as the base of all the other florals before I put any other colors. Once I was done with these, I started adding all the orange fall leaves and berries, pine cones that I had. That one I got from the dollar store. I placed them around so you would be able to see different shades of all these beautiful fall leaves. Once I was done adding all of these colors, I got these beautiful sparkly leaves from the dollar store, and I'm gonna place that in the background behind all of the leaves, and I'm gonna do it in a pattern, the brownish one and the lighter one, until I cover around the wreath. So I started with the brown, and in between the brown, I'm gonna add the other gold color. Now once that was done, I got the longer leaves, the longer stems. I'm gonna put that between the glittery florals, also in the background. And this is how it looks so far. I added more full colors to fill it in. Then I got this beautiful ribbon, and I got the orange and the striped ribbon, and I put them into this pattern. And then with the twine, I'm gonna tie them from the middle, and I made 2 knots. Then I fluffed them up and rearranged them where I have one orange and one of the black Halloween pattern. Then I'm gonna attach it to the wreath from here and tie the twine from the back of the wreath. And I love to cut all the ribbon ends into a fishtail, and then I fluffed them up, rearranged them how I liked, and I did the same exact thing on the other side using the same pattern and the same ribbon. And this is how it looked like. Then I got this orange crackled gold pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, and I noticed that the top was a little flimsy, so I took it off and I added some hot glue and stick it back. Then we're gonna place this beautiful pumpkin on the side of the ribbon just right here. And with the black velvet ribbon, I'm gonna make a bow and tie it with the twine from the middle. And with the hot glue gun, we're gonna stick the bow right under the pumpkin. It looks absolutely beautiful the way it is right now, but I think it's missing something, don't you? I know what's missing, this. Yup, I got this beautiful Halloween wig from Amazon for around $10. And with the hot glue gun, I placed that on the top of the skull. And with the hairspray, we're gonna style her hair, just to make sure it's in place. And then I got this beautiful witch hat that I also got off Amazon. It was around $9, and I stuck that with the hot glue gun. I am so in love with how this witch wreath turned out. It is absolutely stunning. I added this beautiful harlequin ribbon on the top of the head. I just love everything about it. We got a $5 skull, $3 wreath, and the wig and the hat, and made this beautiful, stunning, high-end Halloween wreath for under $35. Such a beautiful, unique piece. If you look up all the skull wreaths on Etsy, you're gonna find that they sell from between $175 up to $225 and even more sometimes. But today, we made this beauty for under $35. For this DIY, I got a 12x9 canvas. I got them from Walmart. It's around $1.50 each, and with the clear coat, I'm gonna cover the whole canvas. Once I covered it, I got the rose gold leaf sheets and I'm gonna cover the canvas with them. They come into this little squares and I'm gonna use these to cover the canvas, and with the paper that came in with the gold leaf, I tapped the gold leaf gently to make sure it's stuck to the clear coat. It doesn't have to be totally flat, it's a Halloween canvas, and I'm gonna set it aside to dry. Then I got this skeleton that I got from the Dollar Tree last year. It's an animated skeleton that lights up and makes a sound. I got a piece of red velvet fabric and I placed it on the skeleton to measure where the arms are, and I made a little opening with the scissors to pass both arms into the fabric. I opened the other side too, and then I got her hands and I put it inside the fabric to make a red velvet dress. And then on the back, I'm gonna use the hot glue to glue the back of the dress and wrap it around her. We're gonna get the scissors and we're gonna cut the fabric into little strips, just like that. They don't have to be equal. It's a Halloween dress, so it can be worn, it can be distressed. So just cut it with the scissors all the way up to the knees. And then I got another piece and I'm gonna lay it flat on the table and place the skeleton on the top of that, and we're gonna use this piece to make a red hood. Then I got a piece of satin ribbon and I burned the edges with the lighter to make sure it won't frill, and then we're gonna wrap it around its neck. I tied the ribbon and I played around with the fabric until I got the shape that I wanted. And then I'm gonna tie the ribbon 2 times, and then I'm gonna tie it one more time to make a little bow, and this is how it looks like. Once our canvas dried, I got a soft dry brush and I'm gonna brush off any excess gold leaf from the canvas. Look how beautiful it turned out. Next, I got this distressed harlequin stencil, and with the red paint, I'm gonna stencil randomly on the gold leaf. I'm not gonna do the whole pattern, just random stenciling here and there, just to give it a distressed old look. I kept going over the stencil with the red paint and not making a pattern, just a little bit here and there. I kept adding more until it looked like this. Then with the black chalk paint, we're gonna paint all around the edges. It's gonna make our canvas pop and it's gonna complement the gold and the red paint. And this is how it looks like. I left the canvas to dry, then I got my skeleton, and with a little piece of foam, I'm gonna add that to the back of the skeleton to attach it to the canvas. And the reason I'm gonna use the foam is that I don't want to put the hot glue right on the top of the red velvet, because I want to keep the dress flowy on the top of the canvas, and you're gonna see how just in a minute. Don't get me wrong here, I'm just gonna stitch the foam into the dress and the skeleton. So I got my needle and thread and I'm gonna do a couple stitches on the back of the foam and pass it from underneath the dress, and I cut the excess thread. Then with the hot glue gun, I hot glued the foam on the canvas. I fixed the dress and I cut the excess just to make it the same length of the canvas. Then I got this beautiful glittery spray from the Dollar Tree and I'm gonna cut it into little pieces to place it around our skeleton. Then with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna add a little bit of hot glue and place them around in the back of the dress. And just like that, our beautiful Halloween canvas was done. I am so in love with how this turned out. Such a beautiful Halloween piece of decor that you can use as a Halloween wall decor or a tabletop Halloween centerpiece. Another high-end Halloween DIY that costs less than $3. For this DIY, I got one of the Dollar Tree candle holders and I gave it 1 coat of primer, then 2 coats of drop cloth paint. I also got one of their ceramic pumpkins and I gave it a coat of primer and 2 coats of paint. Once our pumpkin was dry, I got the black chalk paint and I'm gonna paint the pumpkin into black and cream stripes. Just like that, I'm gonna do a pattern, a part of the pumpkin in black, and I leave the other one in white. You don't have to use a painter's tape for this one. It's so easy. The pumpkin is already divided. I did the pattern on the whole pumpkin and set it aside to dry. And once it was dry, I got the candle holder, and with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna put some hot glue and I'm gonna stick the candle holder on the top of the pumpkin. And with alcohol, I cleaned off the excess paint that was inside of the candle holder. I wanted to keep the inside clear, so I didn't paint the inside of the candle holder. Then I got this skeleton hand. I got this one last year from Rouen. It was for around $2.45. It was on sale, but you can always get one from the Dollar Tree, from Walmart, Hobby Lobby. They're usually less than $3. And with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna stick the skeleton hand on the back of the candle holder. I always keep leftover fabric or lace or anything that I can use in my DIYs. And this piece of lace was a part of a top that I had from before. And before I threw it out, I cut the lace off it. And I'm gonna use this lace to put around the witch's hand for this Halloween piece. And I tied it from the back. Then I got a piece of this beautiful Harlequin ribbon, and I made a little bow and tied it with twine from the middle, and I cut the ends into a fishtail. Then with the hot glue gun, I stuck that bow on the back of the skeleton hand. And this is how it looks like so far. Now it's time to decorate our candle holder a little bit more. With red paint, I'm gonna paint the top part of the skeleton fingers as if she has nail polish. And then with the self-adhesive rhinestone, I'm gonna make a little ring and wrap it around the ring finger. And our witch candle holder was done. I am so in love with how this turned out. With less than $5, we got this beautiful candle holder. For this Halloween DIY, I'm gonna start off with a canvas. This canvas is 12 by 9 and I got them from Walmart for around $1.50 each. Then I got the joint compound and I mixed it in a paper cup and I started pouring it on my canvas. And I'm gonna smooth it out to make a thin and even layer on the canvas. So I went slowly with the joint compound, first trying to cover all the canvas, and then I'm gonna try to even it out. As we don't want to have thick spots and thin spots on the canvas, the more that it's even, the easier to texture this out. First, I covered the whole canvas and then I tried to go with the knife to even out the surface. And once I was done, I got my water sprayer and I misted the canvas. Then I got my favorite roller. I got this one off Amazon and this is one of my favorite patterns. I also sprayed the roller with water as I don't want the compound to get stuck on the roller while I'm rolling and miss the pattern out. So with our crock roller, we're gonna go over our canvas. I went in nice and slow with a steady motion going downwards. And then from where I ended, I went upwards in one motion. Try not to overdo it so you have a nice and clear pattern. Once I was done, I cleaned off all the excess compound around the canvas with a paper towel all around the sides so we don't have an extra compound that might break our pattern when it dries. Then we're gonna leave this aside to dry. And this is how it looked once it was dry. I love this pattern so much. Then I got my black chalk paint and I'm gonna paint the pattern in black. You're gonna see I'm going up and down and to both ways to the sides with the brush to make sure I cover all the crevices on the canvas. You can also go in a circular motion if that helps. And once I was done painting the canvas, I lifted it aside to dry. And now it's time to draw our ghost. Yes, this one we're gonna draw a ghost. I didn't have a pattern in mind. Freehand, I got the buttercream chalk paint and I started painting a ghost. First, I painted the outline and then I painted inside of that outline of the ghost. I gave it 2 coats of paint and I kind of went down a little to the sides while I'm painting it just to shape the ghost a little bit. Then I got my water-based brown wax and I'm gonna cover the ghost with the brown wax. And again, this time we're gonna try to cover all the crevices. And then with a damp paper towel, I'm gonna go over and remove all the excess. The reason I'm using a water-based wax that is so easy to just spray it with water or mist it with water and clean off all the excess wax. It also makes it easier to play around with the shade of the brown. If you want it like a thick layer or a thin layer, if you want it just a little bit distressed or too much. So using the water and a paper towel, you kind of play around with the color to get the shade that you want. Keep doing that until I got the color that I wanted, and this is how it looked like. Once I was done, I got this beautiful shimmery pearl glaze, and I'm gonna glaze the ghost in this pearl shimmer. I just put a little bit on my brush and I kind of glazed it, and once I was done, I also wiped this down with a paper towel. And before I leave it to dry, I got this white glitter and I'm gonna sprinkle on the top of the glaze, only on the ghost. And then I tapped it gently and I brushed off any excess glitter with a dry, soft brush. Then I got this little gold crown that I had from before. This one was made of paper clay and it's colored in gold wax. And with the hot glue gun, I'm gonna stick that to the ghost head. Once that was done, I got a black Sharpie and I'm gonna draw the ghost eyes. Then I colored inside the eye with the black. You can also do that with black paint and a little brush, but it was easier to do that with a Sharpie. Once I was done with the eyes, I got these self-adhesive gold stripes and I'm gonna go around the ghost, the outline of the ghost, sticking these gold stripes. I did the same exact thing on the other side. Then I got some black feathers and I'm gonna put them right under the crown. It's gonna serve as a nice embellishment on the ghost, and it also kind of looks like a little hat, but it just got the Halloween vibes all over it. I placed them around where I wanted them until it looked like that. And I also got this rhinestone and I'm gonna stick it on the top of the crown. And just like that, our beautiful Halloween ghost canvas was all done. I am so in love with how it turned out. Such a high-end Halloween project that you can do on a budget. The canvas was for $1.50 and you can use some of the joint compound, which is so cheap. And with some rhinestones, some feathers, we got this high-end look. I'm so in love with the shimmer, with the pattern, with everything. It turned out absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments which is your favorite Halloween DIY and what's your favorite Halloween color combo. See ya in the next one.